Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how we can apply subcontractor quotes to a project estimate in Trimble Quest. Right, so I'm again inside of the example project that exists inside of your trial workspace. Now let's say we want to subcontract out this crushing line item. Now we're going to start in the request for quotes section. And the first step is that we have to create a list of subcontractors that we want to get quotations from. So this is typically going to be a list of your approved subcontractors. Now I've got two examples here, but if you wanted to add a new one, you can simply click on plus add at the bottom, and you can then define that subcontractor. Of course, if you have a list of approved subcontractors existing within your master costing library, you can very easily import them from that library or from any other project. Right, then our next step is to create a subcontractor RFQ. To do that, we go over to the subcontractor RFQ module. And here we can add a new subcontractor RFQ by clicking on plus add. Then we need to define it. So once we open up that RFQ, we can open up our action tab on the right, click on info, and I'm just going to say this is a crushing RFQ. And then our next step is to add the bid records that we want to get quotations for. So I can click on plus bid records at the bottom here. This brings up my bid for me. And here I can go and select that crushing line item. When we click next and next, that will then add that to the RFQ for us. So you can see here we have the bid record that we want to get quotations from. Now, if we wanted to send this to our subcontractors, we typically want to switch off our current costs. So to do that, we can simply go to columns here, switch off our current net rate and net amount. Then we simply have the item with its quantity. Now this can very easily be dropped to an Excel file by clicking on the print button in the top right corner. You can then select file type and say Excel spreadsheet and say download, and that will download that work package for you as you've set it up in the RFQ. Right, but now if we want to compare subcontractor quotes, what we need to do is we need to add the subcontractors that we want to get quotations from. So we can just click on subcontractors here and then click on plus attach, and we can select the subcontractors that we want to get quotations from. Now, if we've received the rates back in Excel format, we can import that from Excel, or we can, of course, just fill in the rates directly here in the RFQ. So in this case, I'm just going to say subcontractor 1 is quoting 32 and subcontractor 2 is quoting 33 per cubic yard. Right, so we can then compare these costs. So we can click on total, see who's cheapest, most expensive, substitute anything if we needed to. Once we're happy, we can apply the comparison. But with the subcontractors, there's one extra step, and that is that we need to define the resource that we want to use and insert into the pricing worksheet in order to update it to the subcontractor rate. So to do that, we typically will create a subcontractor resource with a cost of 1. You can see a little explanation here if you click on the question mark next to compare on resource in your subcontractor RFQ. To select the resource, we simply click on change, and this brings up our resource list for us, and I'm going to use my crushing subcontractor resource with a base budget rate of 1. So what happens is when we apply the subcontractor RFQ, it will insert this resource into the pricing worksheet for the item and multiply it by the rate quoted by the subcontractor. Right, so now if I click on apply comparison, we now have the option to either add that subcontractor rate to an existing rate buildup, or to clear and insert it to just use that rate that's been quoted. And then again, we have the different option in terms of do we want the lowest quote amongst all of the subcontractors, lowest quoted total, etc. Now, once I click apply, that then inserts that subcontractor resource into my pricing worksheet for me and multiplies it by the rate that they have quoted. So you'll see my current net rate's been updated, but in our bid, we can go and have a look, and you'll see what's happened is that in this pricing worksheet, we've inserted the crushing subcontractor resource and we've multiplied it by the rate that they've quoted us. Right, so that's how we will apply subcontractor quotations to a project estimate in Trimble Quest.